You guys should be able to hear me now. I've just been talking for 10 minutes previously beforehand at another stream. And it was not working. I, for the life of me, have no idea why it was not working. Alright, hopefully it's fixed now. Hopefully if you guys can hear me, if anybody's out there looking, if they can send it back to me and see if it's working or not. But anyway, what I was going to talk about is why I'm waiting on my guest, the esteemed Lee Chapman, to be able to join us. Is that tonight we're going to discuss JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who's looked upon as being a martyr in the truth community. He's looked upon as being someone who everybody loves, who everybody respects, who everybody thinks is our guy. And no president really is our guy. None of them. I can't think of a single one. I can't think of a single president that's ever been for us or been for this country as far as the collective people of the United States of America. However, though, there are a lot of people who believe that JFK is or was for this country. And I don't think that he was. And the reason being is because there have been a lot of misconceptions about the life of JFK and why that he was murdered or assassinated. So, JFK, even from early on, he wasn't our guy, all right? He was part of the America First Committee, which I'll talk about that more in depth while I'm waiting for Lee. Later, even though he claimed that he would scatter the CIA to 1,000 winds, that wasn't necessarily true. JFK had a lot to do with the CIA having power and having modern day power and running operations. Now, everybody's heard that he turned down Operation Northwoods, and that is true. He did turn down Operation Northwoods, to my knowledge. But however, Operation Phoenix in Vietnam went on and got stronger under Kennedy's watch because he was against, communism and quotation marks. Like he was against. He was in all shapes and forms a John Birch president, a CNP president. Now, that's one thing that me and Josh Reeves get in an argument with, because Josh Reeves believes that Kennedy was killed by agents within the John Birch Society. Nelson Bunker Hunt, for example, putting up the wanted for treason posters. And they killed him because Kennedy was not racist enough. That he was for integration, and that's why they killed him. I don't think that's true. It doesn't sit right with me. I disagree with Josh on that. And I respect Josh, and I could be 100% wrong, and Josh could be 100% right. But I feel that Kennedy in of himself, he manifested the JBS. He manifested what they wanted. I mean, he was part of America First. If you look into alternative media, they say he learned everything he knew about Israel from James Forrestal. He was what they wanted in a president. Similar to Reagan and similar to Trump. It's what the elite wanted. Because at the highest orders, it's whoever they want in power. I agree with Michael Joseph that I think that Kennedy was killed. Whether he was an active participant or not, that could be argued. That he was assassinated for the killing of the king ritual, which was a ritual to usher in the New World Order and a luminous standpoint and to completely kill the old world order. And I think I go a step further from Michael Joseph, and one day I will present my findings on that. And that I think it was the killing of the king's ritual, in that a trinity of people, an unholy trinity if you like, had to be assassinated or killed themselves to bring forth the New World Order completely. And those three people are JFK, RFK, and JFK Jr. They make the Trinity. Because when you look at it, when you look at the Kennedys being friends with the Dulles throughout their lives, Kennedy adoring Allen Dulles, even when he had to let him go because the Bay of Pigs fiasco embarrassed Kennedy. It wasn't because Kennedy was mad at the CIA, it's because they made him look like a fool. Or did they? We don't know. That's what surrounds Kennedy and all this. So, why did RFK point Allen Dulles on the Warren Commission? All right, that doesn't make any sense at all. If you think Allen Dulles is the one who had a big hand on the assassination of Kennedy, it doesn't, wanted to get revenge on Kennedy. That narrative doesn't add up unless RFK was compromised after, maybe, I guess you could say. But then again, he was assassinated too. So that doesn't fit. And most people still look at RFK today as being a hero in the truther community. So there's a lot of disconnects here. When you research Kennedy, when you go beyond, Jim Mars, who Josh Reeves outed as his Scientology connections, and I do like a lot of Jim Mars's work. I own a lot of his books, but Jim Mars had a reverence for L. Ron Hubbard. He had a reverence for Battlefield Earth. And he's been questioned many times of being a Scientologist. And the information Josh Reeves presented in Spellcasters 1 and the interviews that he had where Alex Tessarius from Skeptico pushed him on it. And for him to go around right before he was tragically dying of heart failure, going around and promoting Battlefield Earth and saying it's the best ever, it really makes you step back and think for a moment. So when you look at the JFK researchers about the assassination, and they tell you that JFK was fighting the New World Order, he was fighting the Illuminati, even though from Fritz Springmeier, take this as what you will, JFK was part of the 13 satanic bloodlines of the Illuminati. The Kennedy family was. Now, some people say that JFK just had a change of conscience, that he took some DMT, took some psychedelics because of his back pain, had a change, and wanted to fight the New World Order. But yet there was no proof of that. Again, Operation Phoenix was still going on during his tenure. He moved the CIA to Langley. He was strengthening the CIA even after Dulles had left. None of that makes any sense. None of it makes any sense. I mean, it's a difficult pill to swallow. It's a difficult pill to swallow to believe that this hero that's made out in the truth community by Jim Mars, by Jim Fetzer, which Jim Fetzer's a spook at this point. It really makes you step back and think for a moment. That your head JFK researchers, they make JFK out to be this martyr. And they make RFK to be out a martyr. And even John F.K. Jr. to be a martyr. I mean, the disciples of Q to this day believe that JFK Jr. is going to return. They actually think he is going to return for the Return of the King ritual. July 4th, 2019. JFK Jr. will come back, and him and Trump will finally reunite, and JFK will be back in Jr. will be back in Camelot and reserve his right power as the king to take down the Illuminati. If that's true and that happens on July 4th, 2019, good. I'll be happy and as ecstatic as the next person. But what I can tell you is that I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't. That's all we know about Trump. I don't see it happening. So tonight, which Lee's going to be on in a minute, me and Lee Chapman are going to discuss JFK and the love that the truther community has for this man, for this president. And no president, none of them, not Donald John Trump, not Barack Hussein Obama, not George Washington, not Abraham Lincoln, none of them have ever been for us, the people. Now, you can argue that some of them are less. There's a scale, a weighted scale. You could say some presidents may have done things better for us than others. And I would agree. Is JFK better than George H.W. Bush? You could argue that. Is John Adams better than Thomas Jefferson? You can argue that. Same with his son, John Adams' son. I mean, John Adams' son was part of the anti-Masonic movement. So you can argue, like, you know, my friends and I, we have a list of which presidents out of the most recent ones is JFK. Do we think we're best for the country, if you can call it that, and worse for the country? Now, for, you know, some people put Barack Obama at the top. Some people will put George H.W. Bush at the top of how evil they are. And, you know, some of your presidents that are going to be more towards the bottom are like Jimmy Carter, JFK, maybe Bill Clinton. For what actually went on during the country. I'm not talking about how corrupt that these people are. But still, nonetheless, that's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is. So, it's hard to tell. And tonight, we're going to try to dispel some of the myths around JFK. You know, one of the biggest narratives, one last thing, and we'll switch over to Lee. One of the biggest narratives that's out there that I see that Jim Mars even pushed was that JFK was going to bring in the gold standard. There's no proof of that. When you read the actual bill that Jim Mars and then bring up that, you know, the actual signing that Kennedy was going to bring in the Browder, you know, was going to bring in the gold standard, and it was going to end the Fed. There's no proof of that. Don't believe me? Look it up yourself. Heck, I'll read it tonight. It's not there. So again, Kennedy is built up to be a martyr for the truth community. He was the president against all odds, no matter that he was blackmailed possibly by Le Cercle, the English version of the CMP. And Kennedy liked his women. We don't know. Like, why would Kennedy... It's like Trump. I guess I could say it like this. Why would Trump... If Trump was really for the people, that there really was for an alliance. Why would Trump surround himself with swamp creatures? Why would we still do stuff like bombing Yemen? Why would nothing ever get done with Trump? And just like with Kennedy, the country never got better off. Nothing happened. You could say, even during then, people would say, trust Camelot, trust the plan. And that's what we're dealing with now. So let me call up Lee and see how he's doing. Let's get started. Hey, Lee, can you hear me? Lee, you there?
Hold on.
Okay. You're live right now, brother. Just want to let you know.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I can hear you good.
All right, you sound good. Well, everybody like to welcome Lee Chapman to Dudes Talking. Lee Chapman, we've met in the Eyes Open group. I've known Lee for a while. He's definitely our guy and definitely a lead researcher and truther. I've been riffing about JFK the past couple of minutes, Lee, and I wanted to, I thought we were going to talk about Kennedy tonight, how people in the truth community have it all wrong, that JFK is our guy, that he was our president, that no president has ever been for the people of the United States of America. And you can argue that some presidents have done more to harm this country than others. I'm not doubting that in the slightest bit. but the truth community makes Kennedy out to be a hero that he is not.
Did you bring up the family bloodline? How far back did you go? Have you started any of that?
No, I briefly mentioned that he was listed under Fritz Springmeier's, 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. Take it of what you will about Fritz Springmeier. But, when you check some of his sources and, the stuff that he written in his books, it does match out. So, yeah, go ahead, start with that, Lee. Go ahead.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't, like you said, there's a lot of speculation goes in it, but, you can check the genealogy back for a lot of the families, and the stuff that he says genealogically tends to match up. And if you go back to when the Kennedys line up in the occult is with a man by the name of Brian Bourne,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where he was tied into the occult, and that's where the Kennedy line. Because it's argued, there's lots of different Kennedys back through the day, but that's where they argue that's where the occult side of the Kennedy started. You can also go back to when they merged in with the bloodlines of the kings and queens.
Yes.
His granddaughter, Jason Bourne's granddaughter, married, I believe, a son of, remember the Braveheart thing?
Yes, yes.
Stabbed him in the back? Yeah.
Yes.
So I think his granddaughter ended up marrying his son, and that's actually where the line itself becomes kingly.
Well, the Kennedys were from Scotland. And that is where, and Fritz Springmeier does talk about that, and that is where they got their nobility from.
Right. And that's been tracked and fact checked and through the registrar. So at least that part can be known to at least be true as far as the genealogy goes.
Yeah, very much so. And because of that, one thing that I'd like to mention, and one thing I know that you agree with me, Lee, is that all the presidents of these United States have elite bloodlines.
That's right.
They wouldn't get to where they were if they did not.
Yeah, they don't take chances on people, is what I always say. There's no coincidence, and for everything to go the way it goes, you can't leave stuff up to chance, because the law of averages says eventually you're going to lose. Well, they seem to never lose.
Yes.
So the only way that happens is you remove coincidence and chance out of it, and everything is pre-planned and lined up, and that all these people are groomed.
Very much so. I mean, it's crazy how people in the truth community think that there have been certain presidents, whether it's JFK, whether it's Trump, whether it's some people, it's like Abraham Lincoln, that they were for us. That's the reason why they were assassinated, was that they bucked the system. They went against the plan. And it's just not true when you actually look into all the presidents and where they came from and who they are and what they've done to the country in any shape or form. None of them really they just did as they were told. None of them truly, really cared about the populace, about the people, about America, about what this country is. And like I said, you can have some that did worse than others, obviously, and that's even debatable at this point. But what do you say to the people out there who are in the truther community that say that JFK, yes, he comes from the satanic 13 bloodlines, but yet, something happened to him where he got pain and back pain and Addison's disease and gained humility and, really learned to love the common man and maybe took some DMT and opened up his chakras, what about that?
It's funny you bring that up, because that's one, if you want to go conspiratorial, he's on the books as joining the London School of Economics, which is straight Fabian socialism.
Yes.
Except that his family says that he got sick and left. So there's actually stories amongst your hardcore, anti-Kennedy, say all that was about Addison's and all that time. Like literally, he disappeared in time during that time period. They say he's back here recovering, except the London School of Economics is absolutely not. He graduated. He was on the mailing list.
Yeah.
He was, so you have your argument, amongst mainstream, which obviously is going to say, oh no, Kennedy was not a Fabian socialist. But in reality, he comes from socialist blood. He comes from globalism, okay, at least globalism.
Yes, and I was going to say too, Robert RFK. Robert, he was also part of the London School of Economics.
Right, exactly. So why wouldn't this, I disagree with those people that say, oh, he never went. They just tried to erase that because America, during the, communist Red Scare, you couldn't have a two steps or one step away from a communist running the country if he was, if he could be aligned with the Fabian socialists who invented communism.
Now I will say this. That is why the reason why Josh Reeves says that one of the reasons why JFK was killed by the John Birch Society was that they labeled him as a communist. But I'd actually argue that in a lot of ways, JFK was a John Birch Society president just as much as Donald Trump is today.
Yeah, I align with you 100% on that. Absolutely. I don't follow that. I'm more in the line that he was sacrificed personally, not that any one group wanted to kill him, because he was really aligned with all these people.
Yes.
He wasn't fighting the Fed. He was giving the Fed more power.
Yes.
And the guy that he was giving the power to was actually a CFR and CMP member.
Yeah.
So that blows that out of the water. Yeah.
So about that narrative that the Hunts were putting up the wanted for treason posters, and who was the Tippett? John D. Tippett was the head of the John Birch Society that came out during the JFK files that recently were released last year. Was the head of it in Dallas, Texas. That I don't believe that narrative. I believe more the Michael Joseph, that it was the killing of the king ritual, and and now you can argue whether or not JFK knew that he was going to be killed, or that he submitted to be killed because he knew he was going to ascend or whatever, or be a martyr. You can argue that, okay? But nonetheless, I really do believe that was why he was killed. It had nothing to do with the John Birch Society being mad at him because they thought he was a communist, or because they were mad at him for integration. I just don't believe it.
No, I don't either. I always believe these elitists, if you look at their families, there's way too many deaths in all of these families for it to just be coincidental. I mean, like 5, 6 people in the Kennedy family died just assassination, suicide, or they're like Ted, goes off a bridge, kills a hooker, and they try to make it all kind of disappear. I think they're all sacrifices, personally, but I think it still goes back, like you said. I think it goes back to the bloodline. And they keep it in-house. And they believe that you are risen and you're attained through sacrifice for the family, so the family keeps on going. And the Kennedys married everybody. The Kennedys married Todd, Carlson, Rockefeller.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also I also find it interesting that the Kennedys it's really hard to track anything with them, because they always were intermarried throughout the time to kind of hide amongst. And then they pop up in history at the right time, and then JFK's killed, and his brother is killed, and they are immortalized forever as being for the people. When, like you just said, like you said before, they were as far from being for the. I mean, they caught literally one of the people that caused the Great Depression was his dad, and they were living in Connecticut like high on the hog, and JFK was so sheltered, he didn't know that people were starving on the street. He had no idea, because they stayed, in their elite groups, and the young kids never really knew what was going on. See, they were sheltered from day one.
Yeah, very much so. So a couple of things I want to go over what you said is okay. So most people, they when they look to the I'm trying to get up here, when they look to the actual bill that JFK put forth,
right,
that Jim Marrs talks about. I talked about Scientologist Jim Marrs. I respect some of his research, but you got to look at it through a lens because of who he is. They talk about Executive Order 11110, talking about that this was the order that he was going to end the Fed. Well, when you read the order, and it's right here, I'm going to read a little bit of it real quick. When you read it, it talks nothing about it. It has nothing to do with it. Like, if anything, Kennedy strengthened the Fed.
Okay, what it in essence was doing was the president had the sole, from 1830, had the sole ability to make changes to the currency
Yes.
of America. He was transferring it to the Secretary of the Fed. That's all he was doing, transferring the ability for them to make decisions, which, like you said, literally the president of the Fed was who was the secretary at the time, was getting the power. So at that point, it was shifting from the president of the United States literally to the Fed to make changes completely, without anybody's authority but their own, which is what they have now. They change the interest rate. Congress doesn't tell them to do that because it's a private entity. And at that point is what he was doing. He was giving them, instead of 98% control, they literally at that point had 100% control.
Yes. That no longer the president could no longer issue, I think, silver currency, if I remember correctly, or silver certificates.
Correct, right. Yes. And what people say that he was doing the opposite, literally the opposite. He was strengthening, and he said silver was literally useless. His word.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then when you have, like you mentioned earlier, Clarence Douglas Dillon, who was the 57th Secretary of the Treasury, he was part of the Executive Committee of the National Security Council. Later, he grew up with the Rockefeller brothers and later was on the board of the Rockefeller Foundation. And was part of the Council for Foreign Relations and a chairman for the Brookings Institute and everything like that. Like, you're telling me that, it's okay. So it's like when I mentioned earlier, one thing I mentioned when you weren't on here is Trump filled his cabinet full of swamp members. Well, so did Kennedy.
Yeah, of course. Just exactly the same way. They were Wall Street. Okay, the guy you're talking about, Dillon, he is the partner in Dillon and Reed. When you talk about Charles Schwab and these high-end banking institutions, they use Dillon Reed to take care of their money. That's how big Dillon Reed is. The guy you're talking about, who was Secretary of the Treasurer, who was also head of the Fed at the time. That's the guy that literally partnered with Reed and made Dillon Reed, which is the largest holdings company in the world at one point. They may not be now, but at the time of 2008, they were the largest holding company in the world. They had more holdings than the IMF or International Bank of Settlement, all that. They actually had more power than those companies.
And so because of that, you get, Kennedy's our guy. He's trying to bust up the Fed. You have many truthers who are unwilling to look at it and push that narrative. And, Jim Marrs is the biggest one who pushes that. Like a lot of these JFK researchers, man, they try to make JFK to seem like he's the best person in the world. And he's not. He's not at all. I mean, there's pictures of Dillon and Kennedy, I think it was back in 1961, where Dillon had returned. They went to a conference in Uruguay together where they did battle with, Che Guevara. It's just crazy when you look at it. It's just, if you analyze Kennedy's cabinet, and who was in his cabinet, and who he was his trusted allies and everything, they're all swamp dwellers. So is it like the same thing that we see today with the disciples of Q, that you have to trust a plan, that you have to work, you have to fill the swamp to drain the swamp? It's the same things going on.
Two things in my opinion: cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias. People don't want to believe that there's no such thing as good guys. They want to believe there's a good people in government and bad people in government. They simply cannot believe that it's crooked from the top to the bottom. Because when I talk to people, they literally say, Lee, there's no way that all these guys are crooked. There has to be good guys somewhere. And I'm like, sorry, I disagree.
Yeah. I mean, I hated to look at it that way, Lee. I did myself. But then once I realized it, I was like, well, damn, none of them are for us. It's like...
Right. Yeah. I mean, really. You may have some local leadership guys that are for the people, but guess what? They never ascend because they're not part of the club.
No, I mean, you're 100% right. So, I mean, even when we look at where Kennedy came from, what I was mentioning earlier, too, is Kennedy was part of the America First Committee. And we know later that a lot of people from America First started John Birch Society, which later started the Council for National Policy. And you get this, and the America First Committee, when Trump says America First, they were non-interventionists, but they also were Nazi sympathizers. And
they were not our America. That's the... You
yeah.
understand. people think he say America first. They think they mean the same America that regular folks talk about. That's not the America they are talking about.
I know it's not, especially when America First was founded at Yale University. Can we say Skull and Bones? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Those are our people right there, right?
Yeah, I mean, Charles Lindbergh was a part of it. William H. Regnery, who his sons later founded Regnery Publishing, which published a lot of neoconservative and a lot of fascist type literature. With his son William H. Regnery II, founded the National Policy Institute with Richard Spencer. So it's everywhere, man. Like people don't they don't want to look at it, you know. And look, I'm not saying that there isn't some issues that the Allies had during World War II, like the bombing of Dresden. Okay, like I'm not gonna say that they were heroes and everything like that. And like I'm not here to say, you know, both the Axis and the Allies did really crappy things in World War II. Okay, but still, nonetheless, these people were not for us. Dulles Alan Dulles ran with a lot of these people too as well, did he not, Lee?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you want to talk about one of the lowest forms of human on the life was Dulles brothers.
Yeah,
I mean, they did some atrocious things in the name of America first.
That is true.
South America.
That is true, and the CMP is still today going after South America, with us going after Venezuela and Nicaragua. It's still happening today as we speak. Just like it happened. Yeah, just like it happened in the 80s. You have the Atlas organization think tank going down there, and the Atlas Network going down there and mess things up. Who Donald Trump, the woman that he is currently nominating for Fed. Oh, I cannot think of her name, Lee. She is part of this Atlas Network. So it never ends, man. Like, look, I know at the top, and you agree with me at the top, that they are all the same. They are all the same at the top. But there are kind of little subgroups underneath them that do disagree on certain things from time to time. But when they have to come under order, they still, you know, lockstep and get back and do the direction that they're supposed to go in. And so you have kind of like this globalist group, you know, George Soros, the big boogeyman the CNP always likes to talk about, or the CFR, you know, and you have then you have the more fascist, you know, CNP, John Birch, you know, America First. It depends on how far you want to go back. You know, the whole Operation Gladio people. You know, you have them as well. So you kind of have them going at a fake war against each other. You know, for the masses, for people to pick sides, similar to Democrats and Republicans today in the United States.
Well, you have, and nobody even talks about Adelson. And Adelson is probably a bigger threat, bigger player, actually does more, you know, coercion, and nobody ever brings him up. You know, he's how they lined up with the SBL, with the Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah. Yep.
That's how they, you know. People, you have your few fringe people that talk about that, but you know, literally, Facebook sold people's data.
Yes.
Which, look, let's be honest. Everybody puts their life on Facebook. You know, they probably have quantum computers or whatever that are taking this data, and they can fine tune it. I saw several podcasts before Trump was elected, and some of these people saw the writing on the wall. They were, look, guys, when Facebook sells your data and Adelson sells it to Cambridge Analytica, and their parent company is SCL, when they run all this data through their, you know, I want to say think tanks, but I don't think it is. I think it's, you know, AI.
I think it's probably AI. Yes.
Yeah, me too. And it spits out the perfect plan. Boom, Trump was elected.
Yes, 100%.
100%. Everything that had to go right literally came down in the last second.
100% agree with you, and no one ever talks about it. My boy, what's his name? Neil Sanders talks about it, about how Cambridge Analytica, of course, who was founded by Robert Mercer and Stephen K. Bannon, of course, with be connection to the SCL group, which is their parent, and you're talking about Sheldon Adelson and his involvement within that too as well. How they they data mined Facebook, but they also ran fake Facebook ads that my family members used to share to drum up support for Trump. And now The same players are doing it for one Tulsi CIA Gabbard.
Correct.
It never ends.
No, well, it won't end because now, look, I talked a lot about how social media has gone. In the 70s and 80s, if somebody asked you for your driver's license number and your social security card, you would beat them over the head and run screaming because everybody protected their privacy. And then the next thing you had was file sharing for music.
Yep. LimeWire, Napster, everybody did it.
That's right. And then MySpace came, and the young people who they're programming, they don't care about older people. They're always trying to program the young people, the next generation. Because right now, the people that got Trump elected were the MySpace generation, were the LimeWire, the BearShare generation. These people don't care about personal. So then all of a sudden, Facebook, which was LifeLog, the DARPA's program, ended the same day that Facebook launched.
Ironically enough.
If you go back and look at DARPA's plan for LifeLog, it was trying to get people to give up their most precious data and their experiences on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute, real-time scenario so that they could garner, people's thoughts and actions and a mass MKUltra type plan. And now look at it today. People can't do anything without first checking Facebook. So every bit of data that goes out now goes to these big metadata processing companies that run it through their AI, and they know how to trigger people.
We took the mark of the beast years ago, and I'm going to hand out my cell phone. We took the mark of the beast years ago willingly.
That's right. There doesn't need to be any tracking.
Nope.
You carry it around in your pocket, in your hand.
Yep, and this does everything. It gives me radiation. It subjects me to radiation. It gives me blue light, even though I got a filter on it and I'm wearing a radiation cape, but I'm just saying in general, the cell phone does. It gives me blue light at night to poison my sleep. It tracks me. It listens to me. It contains everything that I search for, everything that I listen to, everything that I view. Everything.
And I swear, here's your thought.
Yes.
I swear.
I have a story. We can go ahead and tell it now. I don't mind telling it. Okay, I went to Sprouts. It's like a farmer's market, okay? And I saw vegan Hot Pockets. And I keep the location off on my phone. It probably doesn't do a damn thing, but so I was sitting there, and I was just in my head. I was thinking, I was like, who in the heck would eat vegan Hot Pockets? Vegan paleo Hot Pockets. That sounds disgusting. I didn't open it up. I take it out of the case. I didn't look at it. I didn't speak anything of it. I didn't talk about it to anybody or anything. Okay. I get home, I sit down, I go on Facebook, I start seeing ads for it. How in the hell?
Yeah, no, I could give an example. There's so many of you saying the exact same thing. People. Let me tell you another thing that's funny about this. What we're talking about, the mainstream media and regular normies and sheeple will now even make jokes about their phone listening to them and laugh it off like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Just like hee. I'm like, do you understand what you just admitted to? Your phone is literally recording every second of your life and giving you feedback.
Well, truthers do it too. I hate to say it, I have a cell phone. It's pretty much the mark that you have to carry around now if you want to be anything or do anything in this modern life we live in.
No, I meant the denial.
Well, no, I know what you're saying, but yeah. I'm saying, even you and I, because I know you have one too.
Yeah, I'm on one right now.
We even though is awake, and I hate using that term that we are, we still were like, well, I guess we have to have one. I guess we don't, but we do. So it's kind of like, it's at this.
Well, I call it fighting from the inside, because what good are we to anybody if we go live on a mountain by ourselves?
That is true.
So I say we are actually fighting from the inside. We're letting people know what's going on. It's up to them, just like the elites say about implied consent. I say the same thing. I tell people all day, and people say, well, how can they keep stuff a secret? They don't keep it a secret, guys. I'm telling you right now what's going on. It's not a secret. You're just not listening. So that's why I consider we're using the mark of the beast to try to awaken people.
Yeah, and another thing, Lee, that people don't realize too is all these memes that they see on Facebook. A lot of them are made by the CIA in places like Cambridge Analytica to be and AI
100,000,000%.
to be released onto us. I mean, the famous the thinking raptor. I can't think of its name. The thought raptor that was leaked to be a CIA meme. CIA made that meme.
I say this all the time. Who do you think 4chan and 8chan is? Do you think it's a bunch of hackers?
No, it's a bunch
Or
of
do you think it's
spooks.
NSA, CIA? I
It's
think it's NSA, CIA.
it's a bunch. Yeah, it's a bunch of spooks. You got a few real people on there. I mean, I browse 8chan, but you got to know what you're looking for, you know, because
No,
you're gonna get all.
yeah, no, I mean the content. I mean the real stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody also thinks that Q's on there, you know, giving them true information, I got lakefront property in New Mexico. I can sell you.
Exactly. Same thing as same exact thing I talk about, my brother. It's a joke.
I mean, it is. So, what about the? Have you seen any memes on Facebook recently? I see people trying to push abortion being, you know, them passing the abortion laws, which I never thought that the right would actually get anything done about that. I still don't know where this is going. That they're equating it to The Handmaid's Tale at this point. You know, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like, you guys understand that this is a meme, right? Like, this is a meme. I see it on truther boards. It was even shared on Eyes Open. You know, and I'm like, do you guys understand that this is just to get everybody riled up no matter where you stand on abortion? Do y'all get this?
No, that look, people don't get anything that's pushed on mainstream is agenda. There's nothing. There's nothing organic that is shown on mainstream anything. That's Facebook, Instagram, CNN, and Fox News, MSNBC. It's all agenda driven. None of it is organic. All the bills that are passed, they're being passed for a reason. Usually a smokescreen. Something that we're going to find out in 4 months what was happening right now with all this abortion nonsense was going on.
Well, actually, I got a couple of things going in right now. You have anti-abortion. You have a Democrat senator, I forgot her name, from Florida, who's trying to put a bill up to all children must be vaccinated, unless
yeah, right, yes,
unless there's a medical exemption or waiver. So you got that going on. You have them trying to take away our Second Amendment rights due to quote unquote mental health issues or mental health crises. So you got that going on now. So you have all these things that they're trying to do that people are not paying attention. As long as with the wars that we're trying to get done in Iran, for Israel and Venezuela, and even even North Korea. You know, all these fake wars that we're trying to propagate and we're trying to do. It just that's what people aren't seeing. Instead, they're fighting over abortion, which I myself am pro-life. I'm going to put that out there, but still, nonetheless,
I am also.
people cannot see what this truly is. Like, am I? You know, I mean, it's.
No, they can't, buddy. They cannot see it. I'm sorry, they can't. They got blinders.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. It's like the old NPC meme. I saw that coming from a mile away. You know, not that I'm saying that I didn't chuckle at a few of them, but I said this on Benny Will's Joy Camp podcast, which was that the NPC meme was to dehumanize people. Oh, they're just an NPC. They're not human. They don't have no thoughts. Why? Who cares if? Now, did you ever come across when Alex Jones? And I know we're switching topics, but did you ever come across when Alex Jones started to give the John Birch Society narrative that the Rex 84 camps were actually there because the Reagan government wanted to save us from the globalists destabilizing Latin America and flooding us with illegals, and that the Rex 84 camps were not for us to be put in when the CMP and Reagan and Oliver North and all them were destabilizing Latin America like Nicaragua, and we were going to go over there and actually use troops like we're going to do with Venezuela now, it looks like. And that was to put American dissidents in those camps, and that's what Rex 84 was. Have you heard about that, Lee? Because Alex Jones has been doing that for the past year or so, and if anybody still follows Alex Jones at this point, you know, yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah. I mean, I was telling people, you know, like I said, Matthew North does a lot of stuff tracking, you know, all his John Birch Society ties. But I mean, if you literally think Alex Jones is not, a puppet, for the Zionists, well, you deserve whatever happens to you.
And I would say, as much as I do like Matthew North's work, I still have to look through it through a lens because he was going to make a documentary on the CMP, and he did not. But he released his notes, okay, Lee? And in his notes, he talks nothing about, because the CMP is made up of both pro-Zionist and anti-Zionist. They make very strange bedfellows.
Yes, absolutely.
But he left out the whole Regnery, white nationalist, anti-Zionist side of the, and I'm not saying that all white nationalists are anti-Zionists. I'm not saying that at all. I'll be like Bill Cooper, where the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law Center will say I'm a white nationalist, and the white nationalists will say that I'm not white nationalist enough. They'll both end up hating me just like they hated Bill Cooper.
Exactly.
But nonetheless, he left all that information out, and when I ever pressed him on it, Lee, he'll never give me an answer. I'm pretty darn sure he's getting paid by Regnery just like Richard Spencer is. But go ahead.
Well, no. Look, this is. Let me make myself clear. A lot of people do a lot of good work. I trust no one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying. I don't. As I'm listening to these guys, I can pick out what their agenda is. I can pick out where their lean is. I can even pick out probably who's paying them to do it. And I'm sorry, but I call, if you take the money, you're a shill. Now you can shill for good, you can shill for bad. But if you take the money, you are a shill, and then you are no longer what I call one of us. Nobody pays me to do this. So my thoughts are my thoughts. As soon as you take money from somebody, you are now their mouthpiece, because they take the money away if they don't like what you say.
100%.
So like Alex Jones, you quit saying that the Israelis did it. You quit, whoever's paying you,
well,
do what they do.
He went all the way from Israel had some involvement in 9/11, which I believe that to be true. The dancing.
Yeah, of course.
The dancing Israelis, the possible George Washington Bridge bombers, but you had Bescoys too as well, but it's just interesting that no one, like exactly like you said, no one is ever talking about, and no one's ever talks about, like, I like when people come front and give their opinion, like, Matthew North. Matthew North is Black Sun,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but he doesn't tell you that, just like Alex
Right.
Jones doesn't tell you he's John Bircher.
Right. Yeah. No, like I said, Matthew North and his buddy, they say Jew in a racist overtone. So that tells you right there that they are anti-Jew before they're anything else. I mean, I'm just sorry, but they say that word in a racial tone, other than Jewish.
Well, it's all him. Him and Adam Green focus on.
Correct. Yes. So, like I said, they give me a lot of facts, but I definitely do not take what they say, their opinions about the facts to heart. I just like some of the facts that they give me, and that I can run with. That's
You gotta look at it through a lens.
Right. I look at everybody, like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is he's your new Messiah. He's your new prophet. People are all over Joe Rogan's junk. There was nobody that made a bigger left-hand turn in the podcasting world than Joe Rogan.
Well, yeah, but Joe Rogan was never for us in the first place, though.
Oh, no. I absolutely, me and you know that. But the people that love him, they will not. They just like the Trumpers, they will totally overlook his hypocrisy. And
Yeah.
act like it's But no, of course not. Joe Rogan was put in position, from the second. He's a TV guy who gets on TV, organically. Nobody. Everybody's put there for who they are or who they know.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And you'll see it constantly. Everybody's pushing an agenda. Alex Jones says that he changed from that, because Alex Jones went completely from Israel had a part of it and the United States government had a part of it, to only the United States government to had a part of it, to Saudi Arabia. Now he says that Saudi Arabia, he says the U.S. government has nothing to do with it anymore.
Right, now he does, right.
Yeah, but he said that he learned it. Who was the guy? He's part of the Council for National Policy. He's a big ardent Zionist. Oh, who was the guy that he claims I'll have to think about his name. There's a guy that he claims that he had on who convinced him that, and I say his name all the time, and I can't think of who it is right now, who convinced him that it was just the Saudi Arabians had to do with 9/11. I'll have to think about it for a minute. But yeah, he's a huge Zionist, huge anti-jihad type person. And it's just like Jan Irving likes to give out too, in his about face and his joining the Council of National Policy here recently. Not to say that some of the research that he's done, for example, on people misquoting the Talmud, it is true. When you look at actually documents, but he's doing it in bad faith. He's saying that the Masons have everything to do with and the Knights Templar have everything to do with the Muslims, the Hashashin, and not the B'nai B'rith. It's a mixture of both there, Jan. You got it out of both
right.
there, bud.
Exactly, yeah.
But still, nonetheless, people, once you start telling people the truth, no matter what it is, they never want to take it. And people can tell when you're lying.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you.
But it happens quite frequently, and people can tell that Jan Irving is disingenuous at this point.
Well, I mean, he's literally poo-pooed on every person that's ever tried to fight with him, too. Like, from way back in his, countercultural days, fast forward to his Talmudic stuff, he poo-poos on everybody. He cannot keep a friend or a researcher because all of a sudden they're CIA and out to crash his show.
You talk about like Clint Richardson?
All of them, everybody. I mean, even I can't think of the guy's name that wrote that has the theory that the Romans wrote the Jesus story.
That's Joseph Atwill, but Atwill's a shill, though.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying that every time he keeps aligning himself with shields. That's my point.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the reason being, just like he's done with Lloyd DeJong now, and the reason being is because Jan Irving is a Gnostic. He is not a Christian.
Correct. No.
And he does not believe. He talks about logos, but does not understand what logos is. And logos is, and because of that, it's obvious at this point.
Me and you talked before. The Gnostic. If you're a Gnostic, that already throws up. I'm sorry, I hate to hurt people. If you're a Gnostic, that throws a red flag to me personally.
Now, I would tell you that I used to be one, but I am a Reformed Gnostic at this point.
Right.
And that's because I realized that the Rockefellers funded the Nag Hammadi Library, and they funded Elaine Pagels, and she won multiple awards, and all the Theosophists all believed in Gnosticism. And so when the religion of the New World Order is Gnosticism, to a certain degree, then you got to sit back and you got to go, well, wait a minute, something's not right here. Yeah, and a lot of people don't do that.
No, they do not. And I was trying to wake people up for years, and all the things you said, I preached and preached. I'm like, guys, it's an agenda. It's what I don't want to believe in anything the controllers believe in personally.
Yeah.
Because it can't be right. It can't be good because I consider them to be the opposite of good personally.
Well, it's like they're pushing veganism and the whole food pyramid. It's a pyramid, people.
Right, exactly. It's a pyramid, people. That's what I used to tell people. If it was a circle or a square, but they called it a pyramid.
Exactly. And see, so you got a lot of truthers nowadays. And this is going to ruffle a lot of people's feathers. Gnosticism, when you look where it comes from, when you look at and I'm not going to say the Catholic Church or the Christian Church as a whole hasn't had its problems throughout history. There's been stages where the tree got corrupted, and the tree is totally corrupt at this point now. Okay?
I agree. Yes.
I'm not going to say that. But the answer is not Gnosticism when all your enemies, whether it's Blavatsky, whether it's Albert Pike, whether it's Aleister Crowley, whether it's Wilhelm Reich, and I'll do my expose on Wilhelm Reich in the next couple of months. Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud. When you look at all these people, and you know that all these people are fucks, right. But yet you're going to sit here and you're going to go, well, Gnosticism was before them. Okay, what about the Cathars? Now, some people, you get two trains of thought with the Cathars. One is the Catholic Church destroyed them because they had the truth. The other was that the Cathars were the embodiment of enlightenment and Illuminism, like most of the Gnostic cults were. Not all of them. There were some like the Essenes. There were some like the Abelists that were not. But nonetheless, a majority of them, when they get down to this, Luciferian, and I know, people are going to get mad at me using that term, but it's more of a modern day term. I know in the Bible, Lucifer was the morning star, which is Venus. Satan, you call it Satanism, whatever you call it. When they get that form of Gnosticism, it turns into, and it has always throughout history, whether it's Jakob Frank and Frankist beliefs,
right, the Frankists,
or whether it's Sabbatean, Sabbatean Zevi, or whether it's the Knights Templar or the Hashashins, whatever you want to call the mystery schools, what Bill Cooper called the Brotherhood of the Snake. It's always shown itself as this. And what comes of it is always you do the opposite of moral code. You do the opposite of the Ten Commandments. You do the opposite of natural law. You do the opposite of Hammurabi's code, where you look at creation as being corrupted, and you do everything you possibly can to corrupt it. And that's what the Cathars did. They were doing everything horrible, just like the Sabbateans, just like the Frankists, just like the elite do today, that you can imagine.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly you spelled it out exactly how I think. Exactly.
And once I realized that, then how could it be true? How could everything, if everybody is pushing me that Gnosticism, and I'm not going to tell people here, don't go read the Gnostic Gospels, don't go, read about this stuff and learn about it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that you have to be guarded. You have to know where it comes from. Because if you don't know where it comes from, then you become involved in it. Just like I believed the lie. I believed that it was true. When looking back on it now, I'm like, oh my God, how in the world could I ever believe that it was true?
Well said.
And I know a lot of people are going to hate me for that. But you level up. The same people that are pushing the Gnostic lie, which you'll agree with me this too, Lee, and I want to get your opinion on this. The same people that believe the Gnostic lie also push that the universe is a simulation.
Yes, yeah, exactly. They got rid of the creationists and pushed evolution. And the reason why the Gnostics did that was because in the end, ultimately, they want to be the gods. They want to rise above, and they main push that. You are your own God. You are your own creator. You don't need the creator that created the universe. And that's literally, from the beginning, you have the right side and the left side, and that, in my opinion, is the left side. And the simulation theory would be the exact same purpose, in that it removes the higher order, the creator, and bastardizes the whole concept and makes it nil and moot, to where it doesn't matter if you love the creator or worship the creator or follow the creator, because we're all just in a simulation anyway.
And it doesn't matter if you love thy fellow man, and,
right.
and you try to better your family, your community, and above that your country. Or even above that the human race. None of that even matters at this point.
Correct.
Because it's all just a simulation. It's all just a game of The Sims. None of it matters. And it's the same people that propagate the whole my will is stronger than God's will.
Yeah, Crowley is.
Do what thou
wilt.
wilt.
Will be done. That's
yes.
Right. And I argue that all the time.
And you'll see that a lot.
Don't believe in universal morality. They push no such thing as universal morality.
And you see that a lot in the truther movement, and how sad it is, where people will say that they can will anything. Well, if that's the case, and I always say this, then you'll be able to catch a bullet I fire with my teeth then. Well, with your teeth.
I tell them, the car will run over you if you step in front of it.
Yeah.
It's not a simulation. The car will hit you and you will be dead, and then you'll find out how wrong you were.
Because there is objective truth, and that is the will of God, or the will of the universe. You know, it is what is right in front of us. And there is subjective truth, which is our will. And remember, we were made in God's image. We don't have the full power of his will. We only have a minor will.
We are man, correct. We are not demiurges.
That is correct, yes.
Correct. So like I said, when I tell these people, you're wrong. You cannot think that the car won't hit you and it'll just pass through you. You will be dead and splattered because you have reality. And the reality is you do exist and consequences happen.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. And a lot of people don't look at it that way, Lee, and it saddens me because... And I was a person who didn't look at it that way. If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have laughed at you. I would have laughed at myself. But then when I realized that I'd been sold I'd been sold a bill of goods that was bullcrap. The same with me voting for Donald John Trump in 2016. Once I realized, 2014, John knew that no president was ever for us, but somehow I got conned by the Council for National Policy, and it is my own fault. And Cambridge Analytica. Yeah,
I did it too, buddy.
And I'll never do it again, man. I'll never do it again. How dumb was I? But heck, even Josh Reeves, for one episode, bought into Trump too as well. Went back and listened to all your episodes, Josh. It's true. If you're listening to this, it is true, brother. There was one episode where you thought maybe Trump might be our guy. And very early on.
That is, I took it that way. I said, you know what? I'm going to let my guard down, and I'm going to vote for him because I'm going to see. And then literally, as soon as I cast my vote, I start finding all this information out, like literally by the minute. And I'm like, God almighty, they got me.
Yeah.
Before he was even elected, I was like, I was an idiot. I mean, before he was inaugurated, I meant to say, you just start finding all this stuff out. Because I didn't know about his uncle, I didn't know about his uncle and Tesla and all that stuff. I found that out after I voted for him.
I knew it beforehand, but overlooked at it and made it more that maybe Trump's a time traveler and maybe he's the God Emperor. And boy, was I an idiot.
Right, got you.
But I admit it now, man. I admit it. Like, that's the problem is all these people, whether it's Alex Jones, Jeff Rentz, any of the talking heads, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, they never admit when they're wrong. You and I admit when we're wrong. I was wrong. I've been wrong a lot of times.
That's right.
I will continue to be wrong.
That's right. That's called growth.
But I
can't grow unless you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, but I can tell you there are certain things now that I believe to be objective truth, and one of those is that Gnosticism was not the bill of goods that it is sold to the world, as well as Donald John Trump is not our guy. Those are objective truths. I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but it is true.
No, definitely. And Q is not your hero.
No. No. It is at the highest order a Council for National Policy PSYOP that probably involves the Flynn family and possibly Jared Kushner. At its lowest orders, it's dumbasses like Jordan Sather, who's one of those Corey's kids, and the rest of them, Pamphlet and On and all them, running an op for Trump and not knowing it better. Or is it like going to be on my next video where QAnon was actually a scam that was started in the 90s and is propagated by the same people today? The whole dinar scandal, trust the plan and the currency reevaluation, and you and I have talked about that. So yeah, is this just us getting it again? Is this just another scam that'll be pushed on the people continuously ad infinitum whenever the CMP wants to make it seem like they are the good guys? I don't know. We'll see. But
it's just a continuation. Look at the McCarthy, the communist Red Scare. It all is the same play. It's the same playbook.
And who was Joseph McCarthy? What president was Joseph McCarthy really good friends with?
All of them.
Well, I was going to say JFK. This is the biggest.
Yeah, JFK for sure. Yeah, I was going to say Eisenhower also.
Yes, that is true. But Roy Cohn, McCarthy's Cleaner, McCarthy's fixer, McCarthy's lawyer.
Yeah.
He was a good boy. He never did anything wrong. Donald Trump's mentor. No, it wasn't when he was running a pedophile, allegedly running a pedophile blackmail ring, or was allegedly Donald Trump's lover. And Donald Trump, the reason why he dumped him was because Roy Cohn found out he got AIDS, and Donald Trump was furious about that. Nah,
he was young.
Nah. Don't look into any of those disciples of Q. You'll be a little bit upset about when you find out the truth about that.
Got it for Trump.
But yeah, real quick, what's your thoughts on Nixon? Was he worse than the rest of them, or was he as bad as George H.W. Bush? And when you rank him on the modern presidents, where does Nixon fall?
I personally don't give Nixon as much credit as I give Bush. I actually give Bush infinitely more credit than Nixon. I think Nixon was just a mouthpiece and not much control. Personally, now if you follow everything that's around him, my mind could be changed, but he just took too many losses, in my opinion, to be.
So you're the same as me, where you think Nixon was a president that did less harm to the Union compared to George H.W. Bush.
Yeah, to the world, much less the Union. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that.
No. I'm one of those that contend that George Bush was really high up the chain.
Oh, very much so.
Way high, probably more so than any president since Eisenhower.
Very much so, and I would also too. One thing that was brought up in the chat by Boneless Rocker. One thing I forgot to mention, who was also one of Roy Cohn's boys, was Roger Stone.
Oh yes. Yeah.
The dirty trickster, the guy who has the blackmail, the deeds, the alleged CMP, alleged blackmail ring information that Roy Cohn had. Allegedly, now Roger Stone has it. Now, I wonder if that's going to keep him out of prison or not. I don't know. But, Roger Stone
That's an interesting point, too, not him in prison. That's a very interesting point.
And Roger Stone was a big part of Trump.
Oh, yeah, that's my point. That's where I'm getting at. I find it interesting. He's going to supposedly go to prison for, in the whole, Russia collusion deal, when he was a big reason why Trump got it, Q, Alex Jones, and Roger Stone were big reasons why, he was in office.
Yeah. He pushed Pizzagate, which we do know there's some truth that came out of Pizzagate. I'm no Pizzagate denialist here, and we've read the documents. Right. But there was a lot of disinformation that came out from Pizzagate, too, as well. Two of those things that I'm aware of, one being that, remember the scars on Podesta's hands? They were from Dupuytren's contracture surgery. It's in the WikiLeaks, the Podesta emails, that he had Dupuytren's contracture, and he had surgery for that, and it fits exactly where those scars are. So those scars are from that, as well as when you read the documents and they talk about walnut sauce, they were actually talking about pasta with walnut sauce. You can read the before and after emails. Walnut sauce is not adrenochrome, and adrenochrome is not even a real thing. But you and I do agree that even though I will say adrenochrome is not a real thing, there is still a power in ritual sacrifice, and there is still a power in the blood.
Which is what I've tried to push people for a long time. And see, Pizzagate is a perfect limited hangout. There was absolute truth in that, but it was so convoluted with disinfo, your regular folks completely blew and lies. Like nobody ever thought they were running a pedophile, ring out of the bottom of a pizza joint, Comet Ping Pong.
Yeah.
Real people never thought that. That's what Fox News said, and Alex. That was all just disinfo to cover up the fact that, throwing it in our faces that does occur, and it is a problem in Washington.
And through the work of Yoshi Shiramatsu, take it what you will, and I think Yoshi's an excellent investigative journalist, even though he has a little bit of leanings towards the Council for National Policy for some degrees. He put out that, we got Pizzagate likely from Roger Stone. And one thing, too, that I've mentioned previously in the past in other podcasts, who in Pizzagate, where does it implicate any Republicans? Where? Because the Franklin scandal, was
Republicans.
Was Republicans, but also implicated some Democrats, too, as well. So my question is why was Pizzagate? I really honestly think that it was the CMP saying, look at the CFR, don't look at us. Look at this black belt ring that they're running with Elefantis and Podesta. Look what they're doing. Don't look at us. And that's why you don't see... Now, I will say this. Actually, there's one. There's one that was never implicated, but I will implicate this person now, and I will bring up the documents right now. And that person is one Tucker Carlson, VIP to Comet Ping Pong. Let me bring it up, Lee, but go ahead and talk about Pizzagate for a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay. Those of us that believe that there's no such thing as two sides, the CFR and the CMP are working actually together.
Yes.
They're you have people on both over time. You have people that are on both sides. So it's not one side trying to wreck the other side. It's actually a game of ping pong and a game of chess that never ends. They serve, the CMP serves it over the CFR, and CFR serves it back.
That is 100% correct. And I want to read this to you real quick. This is from a 2007 A Game for Pizza article about Comet Pizza Ping Pong. It is a review of the restaurant in the Washington Post. This is long before Pizzagate. And I want to go down to the bottom where it says, among the VIP regulars are ballet director Septi Webry and talking head Tucker Carlson. But even Donald Rumsfeld has dropped by for a pie. There's actually even another further 2011 article, which I'll have to bring up and find while you talk for a minute, Lee, that also names that Tucker Carlson, even from 2007 to 2011, still frequently went to Comet Pizza Ping Pong. But why hasn't any of the Q researchers, now you'll see, now there have been some people on Pizzagate Vote who brought it up, okay? I got to give them props for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it's not going to be your mainstream guys. It's going to be your independent researchers. So
why hasn't any of them, that rah the Pizzagate narrative? Why did none of them ever bring that up? Why did none of them ever bring that Tucker Carlson was a VIP for many years at Comet Pizza Ping Pong?
Because even though Tucker wasn't pro-Trump, he still didn't feed into the Trump hysteria, and he's definitely right-leaning, not left-leaning.
Yeah, and here's another one. Loosen the Beltway in Washington, D.C. Another one. Talking about Buck Taylor, Comet Pizza Ping Pong. Regulars like Ted Kennedy, Tucker Carlson, Sidney Blumenthal, Valerie Plame, Chris Matthews. So again, another article. And this one was from around New York Mag from around 2015. So even right before Pizzagate broke, he was still going.
Well,
so what, did he stop?
Well, you also know that, Tucker was brought up on rape charges, and they swept it on the rug and said the woman was crazy. Remember that?
And I also know, too, what about Tucker Carlson's father?
Yes.
A lot of people don't want to talk about who Tucker Carlson's father was. I think his name was Richard Carlson, I remember.
That sounds correct.
And how he was president for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and a director for Voice of America. And Voice of America's tied in with all these CMPs, the Council for National Policy, and everything. So good old Tucker is blue blood as they come, and he ain't our guy.
And Alex Jones, buys Voice of America or whatever, buys the rights to it anyway.
It's just crazy. It's just when you look at it and all the connections, none of them are for us. And if anybody thinks they are, I got some land to sell you.
Exactly. And as soon as a Democrat is put in the office, then all the stuff that we're talking about the right, it'll be front page news, because then it'll be Obama Jr., whoever it's going to be. I'm just saying.
So why didn't anybody? Yeah, exactly. Why didn't anybody investigate Tucker Carlson's connections to Comet Pizza Ping Pong? I mean, obviously he's been going there for at least, from what I could see, 8 or 9 years.
Because it doesn't fit the agenda.
Is he just going there? Is he just going there for the pizza?
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. He was going there. He was going there to hang out with the pedophiles, but you know how that goes. He just happened to be friends with them like Trump.
I'm pretty sure when you go to a restaurant and eat for 9 years, that the owner of the establishment, this was James Alefantis, I'm pretty sure you would become friendly with the guy who owns the place if you've eaten there for 9 years.
Especially when you're a multi-millionaire.
You and I, Lee, probably got a regular places that we go out to eat at. When you become a regular to a place, you meet the owner. Sometimes they give you free food. Sometimes they give you a discount. You've been eating there for 9 years, enough to be a VIP in multiple articles, and you're telling me no one's ever going to look at Tucker Carlson, his connections to James Alefontis and Common Pizza Ping Pong? Get the hell out of here.
Exactly. It's agenda. Like I said, it didn't fit their agenda. And they meaning the left and the right.
Yep. They meaning the Fabian Socialists, they meaning the top of the Illuminati pyramid, the Brotherhood of the Snake, whatever you want to call them.
Whatever you want to call it. Correct. I agree with you 100%.
Pizzagate and the Podesta emails, though parts of it were very true, like the Lozado family, their farm, Podesta, Spirit Cooking, the Nexium cult, Map Handkerchief, all that is real, okay? And Cheesy Bay, and all that is real. I am not saying that Pizzagate is fake. I am just saying that it was a controlled leak. Because if anybody at this point thinks Assange is our guy, I also got property to sell you in New Mexico, too.
WikiLeaks was a straight NSA psyop. Assange and, what's his name, in my opinion, are both agents.
Chelsea Manning.
Edward
Snowden.
Edward Snowden, yes. Snowden, no low-level, what was he, a contractor? He wasn't even with the NSA. He was just a contractor that's really going to do that. Come on, it's the NSA, guys. Yeah, that's stupid. That's absolutely stupid.
100% right. And Boneless Rocker brings up, too, I think they did Pizzagate because they did Trump and Clinton election, that the Epstein allegations would have come up. That is 100% right. The Council for National Policy and the elite knew that if Epstein was brought up, that it would implicate, or Epstein was brought up, it would implicate both Trump and Clinton. Therefore, that could not be brought up. But Pizzagate could be brought up.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. No argument there either. I'm with you. I'm with you on the same train of thought.
So we got about 5 more minutes, Lee. Anything else that you'd like to discuss, brother? Anything you'd like to bring up? Thank you for being on the inaugural episode of Dudes Talking, man. I definitely will have you back on for the future. You and I are alike in so many different ways. You've been researching a hell of a lot longer than I have, brother. Anything else that you want to talk about or bring up?
No, we've hit it. We'll do it again. We'll delve in. I mean, we can just go for another 4 hours just making connections.
That's right. Well, hopefully Lee did at one time have his own YouTube channel, and they took it down. Hopefully, we can get him back to going back to doing research and putting it up and everything.
That's why I go on people's shows, because they can't delete my stuff. They can't break all my links, and because it's not mine. I'm on your show, so I can get the same type of coverage out there without my face being attached to it, or them the ability to delete stuff and cancel my channel, and the kind of stuff they're doing nowadays to try to censor the truth.
It is the bullcrap that they do, and they do it to everybody who speaks the truth, brother. Right. And that being said, they also do it to people who don't speak the truth, like Alex Jones being censored and stuff like that. Sometimes,
which we all know that's a play.
It's the Judas Goat play, is it not?
Dude, he tripled his wealth. Have you read that?
Yeah, and you know what he also did? He got many people to download his app, the InfoWars app.
That's what I'm referring to.
And the InfoWars app was getting people's data. It was tracking people allegedly and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. 100%. It was done to it. It didn't make him any less attractive. What do you do to people? What is the best way? And then we'll end. The best way to get somebody to look into something is make it taboo. That's a known fact.
100%.
So they made Alex Jones taboo, and his app tripled and was the most downloaded app I know for almost a solid year, I believe, on the Apple Store.
Yep.
Was Alex Jones app.
Because Alex Jones used to boast about that.
Correct. Yeah.
And so what do? They track people who download it, who listen to InfoWars, how long they listen to InfoWars, everything else that you have. Because when you downloaded the InfoWars app, allegedly, you had to give away, your position. Same thing you have to do with most apps.
I was going to say, come on now. Anybody that thinks that the app on your smartphone, you can turn off locations and all that stuff, I got some more land in the top.
I mean, yeah, at this point. All right, Lee. Well, you can find Lee on the different Eyes Open Network shows, which I am a part of, and I want to give a shout out to the Eyes Open Network and the work that they do. And Lee, thank you for having you on, brother.
Yeah, brother, I appreciate it. I'll be back on.
Oh, definitely. Have a good evening.
You too, pal. Later.
Bye. All right, that's the famous Lee Chapman. I got to give him some claps for being on. He's definitely one of the few people that I trust out there when it comes to this research. And again, I could fit that list on a Post-it note. One time I'm going to have to Post-it note here by the computer and show it off every time to show the people that I trust. And it's only very few at this point, but he is one of them. And that's about it for We've Read the Documents, people. I hope you have a good night. We'll be doing some shows next week. I'm going to go over the QAnon, the cult that started in the 90s. And as always, till next time, I'll always read the documents. And thank you for joining me for the inaugural episode of Dudes Talking. I hope everybody takes care. Have a good evening.